Well, hello. I am Vicky McGrath, founder of Vicky McGrath Spiritual Arts. I am a psychic medium and soul exchange walk-in who had a spontaneous spiritual awakening in December 2020 and learned I could channel multidimensional beings. Now I'm a certified mediumship teacher and certified life purpose medium, and I teach mediumship to others who have a calling to channel ancestors and spirit guides. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Spiritual Women Entrepreneurs Empowerment Together. Sweet. Thank you so much for being my guest, Gloria. I truly appreciate you taking the time to share your talents and story with me and my audience. My goal with this channel is to highlight and promote the value of women spiritual entrepreneurs in the ascension of humanity, the planet, and the economy. It is also to give a platform for the woo, the amazing, incredible experiences we have with other dimensions, and to empower other women to see themselves and their gifts as a way to their own sovereignty. I hope you will find value in promoting the channel to your audience and promoting yourself as an authority and an influencer. Welcome, Gloria Grace Brand.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I love the acronym of SWEET. I think that is so cool. And I was almost, as you were talking, I'm thinking we should make WOO into an acronym too, like women outpouring ownership. I don't know, whatever. We'll have to come up with one. But I think we should have one for that too.
I agree. I think that would be terrific. So, I would like to keep this interview conversational, and I've put together a list of questions I will use for, to help highlight your story, your talents, and for the audience. So tell us, Gloria, about your origin story. Now, before you do that, I just want to point out, actually, I discovered Gloria, I think it was through the podcast email list that I subscribed to. And I submitted a request to speak on Gloria's channel. And it took us a few months, I think, to get coordinated there. But I was graciously hosted by Gloria, I believe, in November last year. And so if you wanted to see that interview, I know Gloria will have that on her Facebook page and other channels too, I'm sure. So with that introduction, Gloria, tell us about yourself. Have you always had spiritual gifts, or did they appear at some point in your life?
Well, thank you for that question. Yeah, and also thank you for being my guest on the show, because I was actually re-listening to it recently because I wanted to, familiarize myself again with your story, and it was like, oh yeah, it was so similar and not, but yeah, but a lot of similarities and just some cool things, because I did not have. Yeah, I've interviewed guests on my program who've like, oh, they knew when they were a kid. And it was like, no, that wasn't the case with me. Um, I was I always believed in God, but I didn't necessarily have spiritual gifts that I was aware of. Let's put it that way. So maybe I'm sure I probably did, because I believe we all come into this world with spiritual gifts. We're just not awake to them. And so it took me a while to get to wake up. Better late than never, And it was really a couple of things that have snowballed me, and part of it was actually just being in business for myself. I launched my own business in 2009, and along the way, I would periodically attend conferences and things to be able to improve my business. And I know one conference I went to, this is probably 2015 maybe, there was a woman who she was singing, and it was channeled singing, but she was couching it, describing it in a way that would appeal to corporate clients. So it wasn't really emphasizing too much the woo aspect of it. But now looking back on it from now compared to what I do now, I'm like, oh, she was channeling light language. She just wasn't
Interesting.
calling it
Yeah, yeah.
that. And but then it was a couple more years after that, and in the process of what I was going through at the time, my sister had developed cancer, and so I was kind of dealing with that. And then she transitioned at the end of 2016, and I was bereft for a while, and still trying to be able to grow my business, which at the time was copywriting and helping businesses with their online marketing.
Mhm.
I
Sorry for
went to a
interrupting.
conference, and this was again a woman business conference for that was sponsored by a women's organization. And I'm sitting at the table, and this woman gets up to speak and to tell her story. And she starts talking about the fact that she channels light language. And for those of you who are watching this, who have heard me say this a couple of times, going, "What the heck is light language?" I'll explain in a second. She talked about how this was something that she did as a kid, but then, got out of it and then reawakened it after some trauma that she went through. And she then proceeded to demonstrate. So, light language is a type of sound healing modality, is how I describe it now. It's a language that comes through that's some people equate it to speaking in tongues. So it's a foreign language. Your brain doesn't necessarily understand it, but your heart does, your soul does. And some people speak it, some people sing it, some people write it. So this woman, I believe she was speaking it. She just spoke it. But as I'm sitting at the table, I'm listening to her. All of a sudden, tears started running down my face. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And what I've learned now is that I was clearly activated.
Yes, yes.
Um, her her message just spoke to my soul, and my soul was like rejoicing, saying, "Yes, finally, she's ready. She's going to be ready now for this." And it took about another 6 months of I worked with her for a little bit, still wasn't doing it myself, and then I met up with a former coach of mine who I had seen on Facebook doing light language. And I was like, wow, okay, that's interesting. I didn't know he did that. And so we got together and did a session together, and he did some light language with me. And then he said, Gloria, you could do this too. And I'm like, really? I don't know. And so I tried it a little bit. He's like, you know what? Don't worry about it. Do it tomorrow. Spend some time meditating first and then set the intention. And so I did that. I meditated in the morning because I meditation has been a practice I've been doing since 2009, actually, when I started my business. And so after that, then I just sat quietly and set the intention and said, allow whatever message needs to come through. It'll be for my soul's highest good. And I opened my mouth to just kind of make a couple syllables. And then all of a sudden, it was like you
Wow.
turned on the tap and the water came out.
Cool.
And I was amazed that all of this started coming through, and it has totally changed my life in
Wow.
so many wonderful, wonderful ways. So, yeah, so that was only a few years ago that happened. Um, yeah, probably right around the same time I think you were going through yours, as a matter of fact. So, yeah, it's
Yeah,
interesting.
it really is interesting. And I think that the activations happen so spontaneously, right? We just don't even know that that's what's happened, and we don't know who it is that's going to activate us. Right? I still don't know. Like, I participated in a free Facebook summit in December 2020, and I still don't know who among the speakers it was that activated my spiritual gifts, but it was just like you, right? They just all of a sudden, my mind was blown, and all of these multidimensional beings flooded in, and just like you, just amazing, like a complete and total transformation of life, right?
Hmm.
So, talk about your business now. So, how do you use your spiritual gifts as a spiritual entrepreneur, and have have you? I would have to assume that you have transformed your business from before, when you were in business from 2009, since learning about your your skills in light language?
Yeah, it's still a process, and still I'm still in the process of transitioning over to really focusing in on doing light language. I light language light language and my podcast are the two favorite things I have that I enjoy doing. And I started a new project last fall that is also becoming a new part of my business that I'm enjoying as well. I started a this was again a divine download that came to me to start a women's group called the Soulful Women's Network. And that domain was available. And it was
Oh,
like, okay, so I guess it's meant to be. So so I do sessions. I do light language sessions with clients. And I've done several over the last couple of years, and really enjoy doing that. I incorporate light language into my podcast when I do my solo episodes, and this new Soulful Women's Network I started. I've got a free Facebook group, and then I also have a paid membership as well. So we're doing monthly meetings, either online or in person here in Central Florida, where I live. And then I'm also doing light language in the Facebook group. So twice a month, I do the first and third Wednesdays of the month. I'm calling them soul messages right now. And to again sort of let people in a little bit about what this is for people who aren't familiar with light language. And I think this is about the fourth Facebook group I've had over the years. And this is the first one where it is organically growing, and I have engagement in the group, which is something I know a lot of people who, especially when they're first starting a Facebook group, they find it difficult to get engagement from the members. And I'm so grateful that I'm getting that. And I think it's a combination of the fact that this really is divinely inspired to happen, and I'm in a better place now where I'm leaning in and embracing the gifts that I've been given and sharing them with others, because that it makes me happy when I do it, and it makes other people feel good. So I need to keep doing it. So that's where I'm landing right now. And I still do some copywriting on the side as well, because um, I feel that people who either still need that, or people who need my support to be able to get more clarity on who they are and why they're here and what they're meant to do, then sometimes really need support with writing, because even though writing is good to come from your own voice, sometimes they still don't have the confidence to do it. So I can help with that.
yeah, that's a great skill to have to help people with content. I mean, that is, I think, a big challenge for many people. So tell me more about, I guess, I believe you actually also have a book. Do you not, Gloria?
A book, yes, yes, I do.
And is that
Right.
previously or is that currently your book?
That is my current book that well, it was published in February 2021. So it was something that I had been, the idea came to me actually at the end of 2016 as my sister was getting ready to transition. And this was this divine download that came through that said I needed to write a book about love. And at the time I thought, well, that's crazy because I do online marketing. So needless to say, it took me a while to embrace it. And I really, during the process of writing the book, it dawned on me at one point that, oh, the reason I needed to write this book was because it was for me. I had to learn how to love myself, because the subtitle of the book is how to stop doubting yourself and start being yourself. And that's what I talk about in the book. And I share something called the love method,
Mhm.
which is love is an acronym. And it that between that and the light language has really helped me. And that's really what I want to be able to do with other people, in particular women, is to help them to stop doubting themselves, to stop buying into this imposter syndrome, and to really own their value.
Mhm.
So the O in love is to open your heart to receive, and the V is value your uniqueness.
Right.
And I'll go back. The L is let go and let God, and then the E is embrace your divinity. So it was so interesting that those 4 concepts came right away that first day. So again, this was not from me, this was
Yeah.
coming through me. And then I had to learn what it really meant for myself. And I was able to do that through writing the book.
Wow. Yeah. That's a feat to write a book. I have, I think, 4 drafts of 4 different books, and I just can't seem to figure out which one to move forward on. So I congratulate you on having the courage and the stamina to get through that process. And maybe I'll talk with you when I finally get to the point where I'm ready to move forward on that. But it's so true. You just get these downloads, and the divine just wants you to move forward with them in whichever way you can make it happen in your human life. And I think that's exactly what you experienced there with your book. And I'm sure being about women's empowerment, and I think that is perfect message, especially for this channel, which I'm really trying to make about spiritual women empowerment, so that they can feel like they are, that they have something really unique and amazing to contribute to the conversation right now, and really
Mhm.
help them build up their confidence. So, Gloria, what is your big dream for the future?
Oh, yeah. My big dream for the future is to, well, a couple of things. I would say one of them is to continue to host retreats. I finally was able to host a women's retreat last fall.
Oh,
I
cool.
had that idea for years and years and never did it, and it was wonderful. And this was something I had seen in my mind's eye years
Mm-hmm.
ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's one thing I want to be able to do is continue to grow a community of women and then to be able to support them in that way. And I would like to do some more books. You talked about books because I actually have 2 that are started as well and have not been able to get through it. And one thing I learned in the process of writing my own book is that it all happens in divine timing. I
I hope
wasn't,
so.
I- yeah, no, it does because I wound up, the book was inspired by my sister, really. And her birthday was February 21st. And so when I realized that as I was writing the book, oh, it could get published on February 21st, 2021.
Oh,
So
cool.
it was, so it couldn't have gotten done sooner. It had to
Yeah.
be done then so it could get released then. So don't worry. It's all good.
So tell us, I guess, a little bit more about your retreats. What do you do in your retreats? Like, people have retreats for every imaginable purpose, and so what
That's true.
happens at your retreat?
So, of course, I share light language in my retreat. So it's called Unplug to Recharge. And I am hosting, I've got one on the books for this year. It's happening the first weekend in June. And it's a self-care retreat. It really is a time for you to be able to get away from all of the craziness that happens in the world and be able to just devote a couple of days to yourself, to be able to relax, spend some time meditating, journaling, receiving sound healing, like light language, to be in a community with other women and be able to talk and share with one another about what's going on in your life. I love facilitating talking circles in that respect. So I had it was a wonderfully small group that came. It was only 3 women last year, but they were the perfect women.
Mm,
And they all bonded.
mm,
A couple of them knew each other, but then they didn't know me as well. And it just all gelled so wonderfully. And another activity we did is something called soul collage, which is where you create intuitive images. It's sort of like a mini vision board,
mm.
but so much deeper. And really, they all enjoyed that. So I'm definitely doing that again this year as
Oh,
well. So
cool. Yeah. I love
yeah.
a vision board myself. I have like multiple all over the place here. So I'm always looking at my vision boards. So, Gloria, just kind of a segue. One of the things that I wanted to just add some fun into our conversation was your dream vacation destination, and this is really just for fun, but also because my greatest wish is to speak travel and have fun. That's kind of like the overview of my life, and I actually am planning on doing retreats myself in the future, and so I'm really interested in what other people's favorite sort of vacation destination is, because I am very strictly a beach, ocean, tropical experience person. But I know there are people who have, such different ideas about what vacation is. So if you were to take your dream vacation, where would that be?
Well, I've got two places. So one is in the United States, is Sedona, Arizona,
Mm.
and I really have heard so many wonderful things about just the spiritual aspects of being there. So that's one. That's the near one that could happen. The one that's a real dream is I've just heard wonderful things about Bali,
Hmm.
and that's where I would love to be able to go. So that's a that's a little bit later vision board that has to come to fruition for me, but that's definitely a big one for me.
Yes, I've heard wonderful things about both, and I would say that those are probably both on my list. Although the Sedona, because it's not anywhere near water, it would
That's
have to be
true.
like a special trip.
Yeah.
Because,
Well, this other one might be Mount Shasta. Now that's in California, so
mhm,
that's another very spiritual place to go.
yes.
So I'm hoping a friend of mine is possibly putting a trip together, maybe even later this year. So I'm hoping
Oh,
that I
cool.
could maybe pull that together and go. I would love to do that.
And so for, the audience, I guess there are what are kind of considered spiritual vortexes or portals across the planet, and Sedona is definitely one of those. And apparently, you can go and receive all different activations there, depending on where you are in your spiritual journey. And it's a real awakening opportunity to visit all of these different destinations. And Mount Shasta is considered I guess like the bed of Lemuria, really, where we
Right.
have a whole other dimension of beings living within Mount Shasta that most of us don't even know about. So that would also be a really fabulous opportunity. Well, Gloria, I would love to just ask you to, I guess, give us any sort of last ideas about what you are doing going forward, and any offers that you have for the audience to work with you, because it sounds like you have a few wonderful things happening.
Well, I do. So you can definitely, I would invite anyone, if you're interested, to check out the Facebook group that I have. You're certainly welcome to join that. So just go to Facebook and search for Soulful Women's Network, and you'll find it. And I do have a free offer for anyone who's been watching today. I have a free guide it's essentially a mini look at the love method. So I call it Uniquely You: How to Move from Self Doubt to Self Love in 4 Simple Steps. So they
Oh,
can go
perfect.
to gloriarand.com/self love, and you'll be able to download that uh, from me. So
Perfect.
again, it's Gloria Rand, RAND.com/self love. And I would love to be able to offer that to anyone watching today.
Terrific. And I will get those links maybe from you, and then I can add them somewhere in the comments or at some other point, and then that will be on there, for people to find later on as well. So that's terrific. Thank you very much. So I would like to really thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. You've offered so much value to our listeners. I know there are many women who are feeling lost, seeking direction, and know they are meant for more, and they will benefit so much from what you have told us. Again, if you'd like to work with Gloria, I'll include her details in the show notes, and feel free to reach out to her. And I would also really like to thank everyone for listening to this episode. If you are interested in learning mediumship, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach out on my website, www.vickymcgrath.ca, or DM me on Instagram under vicky.mcgrath. So again, Gloria, thank you so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate you. And I hope that our listeners have really benefited from what you've shared today.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. You're a wonderful hostess, and I so appreciate the chance to speak with your listeners
Thank
and
you.
viewers.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.